Hello and welcome back to Technical. Today I'll be showing you how to find the perfect phone for you. Okay, so let's choose your price range. Basically, you want to pick either a budget, flagship, killer, medium, high end, or flagship. So budget phones. Basically, on budget phones, you get a LCD display, 60 hertz, a low-end processor, old software, which is unfortunate, no IP rating, a lot of software bugs, a cheap plastic build, and yeah. So generally, I would only recommend this to small children and elderly. By the way, I wrote this website, so yeah. Anyway, okay. So flagship killer phones, very nice, mediocre phones. They give you a very good display. You can get 90 hertz to 120 hertz OLED display, a small chin, punch hole, newest. You get generally the newest OS and maybe a low IP rating, but unfortunately they do cut corners with putting a lot of software ads. I said, and basically you regain older features such as headphone jack, micro SD card, and flat screens. Medium high end phones, very similar to flagship phones, but they don't provide any new bells or whistles to the table. Whereas flagship phones provide the most bells and whistles out of the categories of phones because they're the most expensive. So yeah, sometimes you do lose these common features that you'd expect on the lower end devices, such as the headphone jack, expandable storage, and you don't get a flat screen. Generally, you get a curved screen. And in the Western world, generally you'd ask, do you want a Samsung or an Apple? And that's a huge misconception because there is way more than just Samsung or Apple. And yeah, there are other companies making Android phones out there, such as Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo, Motorola, unfortunately not LG anymore, Apple, and Samsung. So basically, Xiaomi is a very popular smartphone brand. What I'm basically saying here is that you want to make sure that you don't buy a Huawei or an LG phone because LG dropped out of the smartphone game, and basically Huawei has been cut out of US markets, so it leads to the loss of many Google apps, and you have to do all these hacky things to get the regular things you want on your phone, such as Gmail and stuff like that. So generally, I would shy away from the Chinese ROM and get the global ROM when you're buying phones such as like Redmi phones, and because it's easier to get Google apps. Okay. So yeah, I would generally recommend buying from a reputable brand that has a warranty, but don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. Okay, so the UI. Basically, what you see on the home screen is what you're going to be interacting with every day. And unfortunately, for iPhones, you don't get a choice. Whereas on Android, you can get these things called launchers, so you can change the way your home screen looks. So operating system. So basically, one thing you should know is that Android and iOS are operating systems, not Android and iPhone. So yes, basically iOS can only run on iPhone, so it's not completely wrong, but if you want to be more technical, you should say Android and iOS. Anyway, so basically, if you are a phone enthusiast, generally most people go for Android devices just because of the wide variety of sellers and manufacturers, whereas for iOS, you can only have Apple, who is making the hardware. So some people argue that Linux and Harmony OS are some operating systems, but personally, I don't think they are suited toward the average consumer, just because of the lack of mainstream things such as the availability of Google Apps. Anyway, so if you plan on buying an iPhone, you can't run Android, and vice versa. There's many things that you lose on getting either OSs, and there's many things that you gain. So Android versus iOS. So basically, Android, the updates are scattered among companies and phone models. So when the new Android software comes out, generally Pixels get them, and then it trickles down the food chain, generally starting from the top to the lower end phones, which is unfortunate for the budget phone buyers. Whereas on iPhones, even the budget phones get the software update on the exact same day that the flagships do. So that's something you may want to keep in mind. And generally on budget phones, you don't get much software support. You also miss out on features that Apple doesn't have a counterpart to, such as live caption, guest accounts, split screen, setting default email app, no third-party installation, blah, 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 blah. You can check out my website. I will link it down below if you want to get some more details. Also, you lose out on many Apple only things on Android if you opt to use Android. Like, you don't get iMessage, you don't get what else don't you get? You don't get AirDrop and things like that. Things that many people do value. Okay, specifications. I'm just gonna quickly breeze over this. Again, if you want to learn a little bit more, you can read my website. Anyway, so the processor is the thing that drives your phone. So basically, you can get Qualcomm, Apple, Google, and Samsung. So basically, there are three main ones, and Google isn't necessarily a main one. So, yeah, okay. So basically, I would not recommend getting anything slower than a Snapdragon 730G, and for elderly and children, nothing slower than a 485G. So generally, I don't think you need to get something like a Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 because most people aren't going to be running the most demanding games such as Genshin Impact on their phone. So if you just generally want to do basic tasks, again, Snapdragon 730G and higher can handle that smoothly. RAM. So basically, I just want to give you a quick answer. I'd say minimum 4 gigs of RAM. You're kind of pushing it. Maybe I would say 6 gigs of RAM at this point in time, and maximum of 12 gigs of RAM. Also, camera. 12 megapixels is what I would consider the bare minimum for a phone camera. And also, it should be able to shoot 1080 30 FPS. Okay, so I would propose a minimum of 128 gigs and maybe 2 terabytes maximum. But again, if you have expandable storage, and maybe go for the lowest model you can, as long as you can get a fast micro SD card. So basically, the battery you can get, I would recommend at least a 4,000 milliamp hour battery and 3,500 if you have really low end specs, but it'll be pushing it. So generally, I'd say 5.5 to 6.7 inch screen seems appropriate. Any more or less is not very good for the human hand, in my opinion. Also, IP rating. The IP rating should be higher than an IP56. Also, 5G, not too important. I would also recommend getting an OLED or an AMOLED if you are above the budget line. Get at least 90 to 120 hertz for something that costs more than $300. Okay, design. Fun stuff. Okay, so my subjective ideas. Personally, I would have a flat screen, metal and glass build, and frosted back. Cameras would be on the left side of the phone. The screen would have a punch hole camera on the right side. It would be red or blue, and it would have a dual SIM card slot. Okay. Let's talk about the objective part. Basically, flat screens leave room for less accidental touches. Plastic's more durable than glass, but scratches more easily. A frosted black back allows for fewer fingerprints. Having a camera that covers the left to right disallows for the camera bump movement. And yeah, under the camera looks aesthetically pleasing, but doesn't perform well. Stereo speakers are better. Black, gray, and white are generic. Okay, colors basically. Okay, flagship phones. I would only recommend to people who actually think they're going to be using these bells and whistles, right? If you see yourself taking advantage of these, then yeah, if you can comfortably stretch your budget, go for it. But if you're not going to use it, I don't know if you should. Okay, gaming phones. So in my opinion, what I'm saying is that these gaming phones, they have really, really good, specifications. But the problem with that is that most high-end flagship phones without the gaming logo on them still have something very comparable to something like a gaming phone. Obviously, lose out on some of those like features like triggers, but you can also attach triggers to a phone. So personally, I'd say if you're an average consumer, I would only recommend getting a gaming phone if you want to get really good performance for a lower price, but you lose out on design and camera and UI, unfortunately. And if you actually want to do some hardcore gaming, I'm kind of against mobile gaming at this point in time. So if you want to do something similar to PC and consoles gamers, like if you are a PC and console gamer, personally I would shy away from this just because you're not going to get the same type of performance. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this thorough, review or recommendation of what type of phone you should get and what you should be looking for in a phone. And if you found this helpful in any way, shape, or form, please don't forget to comment down below and tell me what phone you have. Yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video, and don't forget to check out my website. Okay, peace.